You are listening to The Ben Keech Show, where every day the objective is simple. Ben will never stop fighting the fight and lighting the light on topics that affect you every day.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, immigrants, citizens, wherever you may be watching this episode. This is The Ben Keech Show. We're going to talk about immigrants. They're people too and deserve to be talked about. And we're going to dive into a little controversy and maybe some different perspectives in episode 81. I'm trusting that you're all good boys and girls. You're following the show. You've subscribed. You're doing all the things that you're supposed to do. Maybe you should send this to your favorite immigrant or your mom or your dad or whomever. Just send it to somebody. Pass the word. We've got a panel here of, very white people to talk about this topic today, but it's okay. It's okay. We're not judging race or color or anything. We're just people at the end of the day. I've got two of my sons here. Well, the only two. Didn't say that right. Sure. I am. Thanks for asking. I have my son William and Bret. I have my nephew Stephen and Johnathan making an appearance back on the show is here. So, guys, thanks for all being here in this kind of a sweatshop, actually. I said I want to immigrate to a cooler house if we could, but that's okay. We're fine. Immigration. I have no more jokes now. It's serious. So my first thought for you guys in question is, what do you think? This is before we get into the political. This isn't about Trump's opinion. This isn't about Kamala's opinion. This isn't about that one family member that disagrees with you. A little bit different. What do you think it's like for a man? You guys are men or potential men, right? Just kidding. What do you think it's like to be a man living in a poor country with a family? How do you think you don't have a computer, you don't have a car, you're making not a lot of money, but everybody around you is in that vantage point sometimes too, but you're living in poverty. What is that like, do you think, to be the father or the man of that household? What would that like? What would that be like if you were in their shoes? What do you think?
I think it feels like a really heavy weight, right? Especially if you're a father, you're the provider, you need to, provide money, provide love to your family, you need to bring the structure, right? So if you're in a poverty country, you feel like you have a really heavy weight on your shoulders to, make things happen, make sure everybody's okay, make sure everybody has everything they need. So I would say an enormous amount of pressure.
Okay. What else?
I would say probably a want to know more about this dream that gets sold. I mean, if you're in a third world type of country, you probably, if you don't have much access to internet or other things like that, you just probably hear about America or the Western world as some type of just, there's money there, there's opportunity there. Just like gets sold here internally in the country of, if you go and do this career, if you go and do this, it's almost like you just want to know more. How do I get around that? How do I get there? And so there's probably just a lot of just wonder, especially when it gets harder and harder, as people tend to do. As stuff gets harder, they try to look for solutions. So I would say it'd probably just feel like kind of just a want towards a solution.
Okay.
How do I position myself, my family, generations to come? How do I position us better than what I am having to currently go through, is how I would guess they're probably feeling, or just through word of mouth.
Right. You guys know, the history of immigration in the United States is it's been, for the course of our history. People have come here. People have been forced to come here and start a life. People have voluntarily come here to start a life. People have illegally come here to start a life. But the reality is lots of people have ended up here one way or another because there's wealth, because there's opportunity. Regardless of the reason, regardless if it's right or wrong, that's why it's here and not other places. How would you handle, do you think, a situation where your wife, so put yourself in this, so you're married, you have, 2, 3, 4 kids, whatever, and your wife wants to stay, and she's okay with whatever your situation is in that country. And you're like, I want to provide a better life. There's more for you. I want that opportunity. I want to try to get that. How do you think those conversations have happened? Those are real conversations with real people wrestling with leaving a country and all that. Well, how do you think you would handle that if you were in there, if you were in his shoes? How would you deal with that? You know, your wife's fine, she's content, but you're not. What do you do? How do you convince her? Or do you stay? Or like, how do you think you would handle that conversation if that was you? You got all these young kids.
I mean, I bet it's pretty hard if you and your wife are feeling separate about such a big decision that'll affect you, your family, and generations to come. I think the hardest part is, I assume, maybe the wife wants to stay for family reasons, what she's comfortable with, where she's lived her whole life,
right?
Things like that. Or she might not feel safe or whatever, going to a whole other country that she's never been to or whatever.
Right.
So, as the man, I think it'd be very hard to convince her in that situation. But I think if he knows enough about the country he's going to, or he knows the opportunities will be better, and to just kind of show her what the life they're living isn't as good as what it definitely can be, and there's way more potential in another country to go to. And
she's like, it's illegal. It's illegal. You don't have a visa. You don't have a way to get in. You're gonna sneak across the border to get in, and we're just supposed to stay here and trust everything is gonna be okay. You know, I mean, I don't have any good answers. These are real world conversations that people have to have in trying to, you know, make a better life. I think the thing that gets, I mean, a man, somebody said a provider, but what also is a man? A provider and it's another protector, right? So you carry that as a man, or you should. It doesn't mean you're always going to provide perfect, or you're protect, but that's your mentality. Like, your mentality isn't for your wife to protect you. Your mentality also shouldn't be for your wife to provide for you to you. Just like, you're like, yeah, why don't you go sneak into Florida? I'm just gonna stay here and plant some ears of corn or something. Like, no, it's like there's a responsibility. It's a burden, but it's also a blessing, and it's not easy, and it doesn't make for easy decisions. But men have to make these decisions for their family. That is a part of our DNA, regardless if society tells us it's not. You know, the funny thing is, in America, we can have all these debates, right? Because women are making more money than men, or more women are going to college than men, or, you know, we can look at this like, you know, it's just this 50-50 lifestyle. Guess what? It's not like that in other countries. In other countries, it's still, not all, but in most, it's old school. It's a man is a man. A man is, even if he's shoveling dirt all day, making pennies on the day, like, he is doing what he can and needs to do for his family. And that's his mentality. And, you know, it's a, you know, and so what does all of this have to do with immigrate? Why does it matter what these kind of conversations that are happening, whether it's in, you know, Guatemala or, you know, the Congo or we're at Indonesia? Like, why do these conversations matter? Why does it matter for us sitting here as legal citizens in America? Why do we care what they're talking about in other countries?
To try to understand what other people might be going through that we don't normally think about, because we haven't experienced those things or experienced those tough conversations that are life-changing for generations.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Well, I think you can extrapolate it out even further than that, in the sense that the mentality behind these people and the struggles that they go through just to even get here, we can tie that into even the mental health argument for people that are here. Any single there's so many people that are in wars or doing different things across the world. They would do anything to trade places with people here. Anything.
Right.
They're willing to risk losing family, breaking laws. They're like, I don't care what I have to do to get out of this such a terrible situation, which across the world right now there is a lot of things happening, And so you can tie it into mental health and why I sometimes am not as sympathetic towards people here. It's like if you try to explain your problems here as someone who might be whatever you want to label yourself as, try to explain that to someone over in Ukraine.
Right.
Or wherever else. It's like, try to even just explain that to them. You'd almost feel you wouldn't want to. If I was sitting here with somebody who is from a country that's in the middle of a war and their number one concern is, am I going to wake up tomorrow or is my village going to get bombed? Or am I going to have somebody show up with guns? And our biggest struggle is like, oh no, this Netflix series got canceled. It's like, and you're worried about whatever else. It's like the problems that people have here just seem so insignificant compared to other places. And so that's where you have to sit back and realize, like, yes, you're putting yourselves in their shoes, trying to understand how they're feeling, but it puts it into perspective that maybe it's not that bad where we are here.
Right.
Why is it? If it was so bad, then not everyone would be trying to come here.
Well, it's like that. There was a video that went viral that was, I saw the beginning of it, I didn't see it, where dad was basically like throwing his little kid off almost like a cliff into a lake, like some 8-year-old, or I don't know if it was a boy or girl, I don't know. And it was like, I'll teach him how to swim, or, this kind of like a tough love thing. Well, the families in other countries are dealing with like those tough love situations daily. And, this is why this little pampered version of Americans can be annoying, or not just Americans, but a lot of in wealthier areas where, they, I have to play 8 hours of video games, or I didn't get my mom didn't give me the $5.99 thing to buy this upgrade to a video game. And this is like, I'm not saying that's a traumatic thing. I'm just saying for some people, like this is a scope of their life problems, and other people have these real problems. And it doesn't mean that, we shouldn't like recognize all problems, but like people need to toughen up. I mean, I think people need to go on a missions trip. People need to get out of their bubble and see what's going on in other places of the world. And like, wow, I have much more to appreciate. And I see people for who they are as actually human beings. So if we're saying all of this, and like, does it seem like it's a hypocritical statement if I were to say, but yeah, I'm not in favor of people coming to a country illegally? Do I now sound like a hypocrite for saying that? Tell me why, Johnathan.
Because the points you guys just made, if you were that guy trying to raise his family or whatever,
right?
You're contradicting exactly that.
Yeah. And that is,
if you were in that situation, would you bring your family across?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, so that's
I'm not the best swimmer,
definition
but I
of a
would try.
hypocrite.
Okay. What's the definition of a hypocrite? I want to know the answer to this question. What's the definition of a hypocrite?
Doing something that you don't like believe in.
Okay. Doing so doing something that I don't believe in. Or like, okay, so if I was a dad living in Honduras and I snuck into America to work, and I think there should be laws against me doing that, am I a hypocrite?
Yes.
But why? There's a stance that I'm making. The stance that I'm making.
You think that person in Honduras would think that it should be illegal for them to come? You think they think that?
They may or may not care. I'm not for sure. I don't know exactly what they would think. But what I'm saying is, if I would do it myself, but I think there should be a law against it. I know that sounds like that's hypocritical, but it's not.
I think it is.
Okay. Well, it definitely sounds like I'm being a hypocrite, and that's fine. Why am I not? Why would I say that I'm not being a hypocrite?
Because you think I know what your point is. You think it's better off for the overall American, if you want to say America first or whatever, that you think it's better for the country as a whole to have a border and stuff, which I agree with.
A lot of times we make arguments based upon our own individual opinion versus the bigger picture of what's going on. You know, we do it with abortion all the time. We may say with abortion, like maybe you say, well, I wouldn't get an abortion, so that's just each individual's choice. Like there shouldn't be a rule about it. Every individual gets to decide what's right or not right for them. The problem is the government's never an individual. The government has to make a decision for everyone. That's called a law. They've been, doing it, for quite some time. So my point in asking about men and how that must be for them and for families is not to show the hypocrisy in it, but rather to show if I'm going to say the statement that I think you should come into the United States of America legally, if I'm going to say that statement, I'm not saying that void of understanding as much as I possibly can what their life was like in their other country. I have a heart and I'm sympathetic as a human being to their situation. If they actually could sneak into America and make it, I'd give them a high five. I'm like, good for you. I'm not the enforcer of laws. I'm not the government. I'm just a dude.
That's hypocritical, though.
No, I just respect the fact that the laws and individual morality is different. So if the country makes a law saying something's legal or not legal, like you really only have a couple choices. You either make a law saying we have open borders and anybody can come in, or you make laws that say we don't have open borders. There has to be a legal process to come in. It has to be one of those two, right?
I won't argue with that. Like at the dinner the other night, I was never arguing with the fact that you shouldn't have a border, you shouldn't have a wall, whatever. You shouldn't have border security. My point was people that have been here 10, 20 years and are raising a family,
right,
and have kids in high school, those families should not be deported if they've done nothing wrong.
I sure hope they don't get deported, but the law, unless the law says if you make it here 5 years and you haven't broken any other law, I mean, that's fine. Then in other words, the law has to be black and white. I don't have to be black and white in my opinions. I can have a heart. I can say, hey, I hope you make it, or man, maybe that guy can be sent back. I mean, I can do whatever I want because I'm just a dude. I'm just an individual guy. But the law doesn't care about my emotions. The law doesn't care about my feelings. The law doesn't care about, Jose. Well, it doesn't. The law, I care about Jose. I'm buddies with him. We hang out, we work together, we do this. I mean, I like the dude. But I'm not gonna rat him out. I'm whatever. But it's I just think they're apples and oranges. It does sound hypocritical, I know. I look at hypocritical more like what you guys tell me something else. What's like a classic example of being a hypocrite?
Okay, so I'm trying to encourage my family or whoever to be more healthy, and like if I'm going out to eat, I'll try to tell them, or whatever. If we're going to the grocery store to get better stuff,
right?
Well, then if I am coming home and eating pizza, that's hypocritical.
Yeah, okay. That's fair. That's a good example.
I feel like I have a different example similar to what you were just saying about the immigration for Johnny. Do you think in high school people should be allowed to cheat on tests? Because I don't. No, you shouldn't be able to. But do people do it all the time? Have I done it? Yes. Yeah. Do I think I should be able to do it? No. So I feel like that's a little similar to I might get a high five for cheating on the test, just even though I shouldn't be allowed to, but I still do it. If there was...
Okay. Does cheating on the test...
I know it's a way smaller, it's way smaller.
That's a good example.
That is a good example to mine, because the only difference in here is that, he's not standing up on a pedestal. Nobody should cheat today. No, he's not making a moral judgment and then putting that moral judgment on other people. But he agrees that there should be a rule. He's not even the rule maker. The teachers are. The school is. I'm not either. Congress is. The president. I don't make the rules.
Would I be smarter if I was never allowed to cheat on a test? Probably. So I shouldn't have been allowed to.
Probably gonna lose your Harvard. You're about to get revoked from Harvard now. I know, it's okay. Anyway, and I think that's again, in anything that's a political debate, start with the personal stories. Start with understanding where somebody might be coming from and just stay there. And it shouldn't be that hard to empathize. But instead, what happens in these political conversations is people go for the jugular. They get all personal. Their voice gets all weird. They get all sensitive. And I was at a party about a week ago and got into a political conversation. There was a big political conversation happening about Israel and Palestine. And, I'm just kind of listening to this dude who was let's just say for sake of labeling people, he's pro-Palestinian, kind of anti, and he was about to start railing on Jews. Well, there's this 80-year-old lady there that's Jewish, and I know she's Jewish, and all of a sudden her antenna turns on, and she's walking over to this guy who's about being very whatever, and I jump in because I'm she's about to lose it, and this dude is wacky, and I'm so I calm the situation down. I just started softening the situation. He literally he almost got up crying and ran out of the room because he couldn't handle the conversation, because it was I can't explain to you why. It wasn't because nobody's yelling at him, nobody was whatever, but his emotions, oh my goodness, guys, don't have a political conversation if you're going to be emotional. Nobody cares about your emotions at all. It's annoying. I mean, it's the thing I don't like about Trump. I mean, of course I like him, but I don't like when you get disrespectful. Just sometimes there's no need for it. But
I think my perspective on the immigration thing is I don't like to interject my own opinions or necessarily worldviews on something that I haven't been through it, so I don't feel like I'm necessarily, I might have my own opinions, but I don't necessarily know if I'm qualified to tell someone else who might be an immigrant here. I think my personal opinion doesn't really matter as much. I honestly like hearing an immigrant with another immigrant have the debate.
Right.
Because what I've actually found interesting, and I didn't actually think about it like this, but the people who have the strongest, yes, there's the outliers, but the people who have the strongest opinions on immigration are the people that came here legally.
Right.
Because they know what the process is, and I that was one of the biggest surprises that I had when I started learning about it more and just trying to follow it to an extent. I mean, I try to stay out of that stuff, honestly, but is the people that have gone through the process, they've gone through all the paperwork, they've gone through the waiting, all whatever it might be, those people actually have the strongest opinions.
Yeah.
Where are you hearing from these people?
What do you mean?
How do you know that these people have the strongest? Are you just saying you think they do?
From just personal experience, friends, people I've worked with, just other things. I've just heard many people. Those are the people that I've heard have the strongest opinions on it.
I mean, because if I know I just use Torchies because that's where I've seen it. So I know there's some of them that are legal.
Torchies is not a sponsor of the show, just so we know. They should be, but they're not.
But a lot of the workers in the kitchen, there's a few of them that are. To be honest, I don't know a lot.
Make sure ICE doesn't know where you're talking. The Torchies in Atlanta. Okay, keep going. Okay, yeah.
No, they have to have a warrant and stuff. They already went over it.
Oh, okay.
They can't come in.
Okay, there we go.
But, so
we'll just edit that part out.
Nah, we don't do editing. We're fine.
So there's some that are and there's some that aren't. But a lot of these people are family members, whatever. And I've never talked to any of them about it, so maybe you have a different perspective than me. But I would want, if I was in their shoes and there was a guy trying to raise his family, and I was from Mexico, even if I waited and came in legally, whatever, I would be happy if somebody else.
Yeah,
came
I've seen honestly not resentment, but it's almost I would use the example of, if we want to tie it into even the gym, for instance. If I'm a guy who goes to the gym every day, I do all the right stuff, I eat all the right ways, I train for years and years and years and years.
And then Josiah comes
And then
along.
Bret comes in. He's never lifted before, and he starts hopping on steroids, and then in 2 years from now is just jacked, way bigger than me, doesn't eat that well, but he's taking steroids all the time. I'm gonna be well, that's so stupid. You basically just cut me in line. You basically just surpassed me. And I had to do all the hard work, and you just got to jump in front of me. That's the vibe that I get from them towards it. That's how they feel. At least that's what they've shared with me. And I think that's just some of the, like, insight I would say that they've shared with
let's
me.
say you pay for a gym membership and Bret wants to go lifts with you.
That's fine. We're both putting in the same amount of work.
But would you sneak him in?
Sneak him into the gym?
Yeah.
Not if I risk losing my membership.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, and I
You
think
can do push-ups.
yeah.
There is always push-ups. Did you miss the Josiah line?
I heard you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I mean, the bottom line is that when you do something difficult and you succeed at and you accomplish something, you do look at it where this is the way everybody else should do it. I mean, there is a mentality. It doesn't mean that, you know, you may not have, like, okay, you know, if you got in or whatever, but obviously the problem is if the country has people pouring over the border, we're not going to be able to allow as many people legally to come over. And just so you guys know, what we do with immigration, it gets spread throughout the world. So we may have a certain amount of people from India, a certain amount of people from Scotland, a certain amount of, like, you know, it's not just in one country. And then we want skills. So you have bright people, smart people, someone that graduated from Mexico City, you know, and so you have, so we, you know, Americans are calculating in a sense that if the brightest and best from other countries want to come here, they do get ahead of the line sometimes. And so there's a thing where if you are starving and poor and all these things, you know, it's going to be hard to get here. I mean,
so if you're a dad in that situation and you're starving and poor,
yeah,
are you going to take the steroids even if it's unethical or whatever?
No, I'm not.
You're not?
Wait, am
The
I going to come
steroids
into
was referring
America?
to breaking the
I
law.
no, I don't know honestly if I would or wouldn't.
You
Because
would.
I don't know that. I
I
don't know
think
that.
you 100% would.
Except for there's one reason why I wouldn't. And I gave you guys a clue earlier. I just seen if anybody caught on. Because the clue connects to these hoochie American women that aren't following what I'm about to say. And it's this. A woman who is proud of her husband, who is grateful and thankful for the life that he's providing, should be solid. She's like, honey, we have these kids. We're good, but we're poor. But this, honey, I trust you. I love you. We're here. And provides him that. When a woman does that for a man, he's good. So yeah. So if I had that wife, I'm staying in Haiti. I'm good.
Even if there's a risk that your kids are gonna, I don't know what it's like in Haiti, but
I'll
I
protect
imagine
them.
it's dangerous.
It is. I mean,
You'll protect them if a gang comes up. And
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know for sure if I will, but I look, I'm not saying, like, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that, you know, I don't know what my mentality would be like if I was born and raised in, you know, the Haitian jungles. Like, I don't even know if there's jungles in Haiti. It just sounded cool. But I'm just saying, like I don't know exactly what I would do, but I'm just saying that, like, a peaceful, content wife who trusts and respects whatever her man's bringing, you're solid. I don't get, and those are the hoochie women that don't
she
do
gonna
that.
hold it down.
But anyway, yeah. No, I'm sorry to all the hoochies out there. I didn't mean to call you that. It's okay. It's just what you are.
Oh,
So, that was kind of like my tie-in on
is
this.
that a message to somebody?
It's not true. I promise it's no message. There's no subliminal messages here. But it's just but it's tricky. I mean, that's all I'm trying to say is it's tricky to be poor and in another country, and what are you supposed to do? And we should be at least understanding of that and like see that for what it is. And I think if you shut the border down, I think we can hopefully start allowing more legal immigrants to come, and not just the brightest, but, you know, I mean, we want to help people, but, you know, there's only so much we can do, you know. So I don't know. I mean, I can get to all kinds of other topics, but any other last comments, guys, on this topic? We're good. Well, thank you, episode 81, for tuning in. Appreciate it. William, Bret, Johnathan, Stephen. Interesting conversation. We'd love to hear your opinions, your thoughts. What am I right? Am I wrong? If you think I'm wrong, then those are the people that are more fun to talk to. So, yeah, let me know what you think. Hopefully you like the subliminal messages that were weaved in. The bottom line is, life isn't always about money. It's not always about all these things, and you can find happiness in a lot of places. And that's, I think, sometimes the missing link in all of this. So
Good time to the next episode.
it is very, very good. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Let's keep the conversation going. You can reach out on Ben's website, www.benkeechshow.com, or on social media to chat. And please remember to subscribe so that you never miss an episode.